Have I ever traveled internationally? Only to Canada, to Newfoundland, Canada, and that was for my office job before I was a YouTuber. There was I worked for a helicopter company, and there was a company that was operating a helicopter to go to and from an offshore oil rig out in Newfoundland.
It's pronounced Newfoundland, dipshit.
And they basically had screwed up their inventory. What had happened was our company had shipped them thousands of helicopter parts. They didn't own those parts, but they were keeping them in a warehouse where whenever they needed them, they would scan it, take it out, put it on the helicopter, and then we would bill them for the part. It made more sense to have the parts there and accessible and usable than to have us to ship it every time. So we had this, it was called consignment inventory. They screwed the whole consignment up. They basically weren't scanning properly, they weren't documenting properly, and they kept putting things on the helicopter they never paid for. Then they would think they had a part, and then they would go to use it, and it wasn't there, so now they're screwed. They were grounding their own craft because they were being sloppy. So I flew out there to help them remedy that situation. We went through all this inventory. It was a huge mess. Anyway, yeah, that was the only time that I've ever been outside the country. Everything else I've done has always been in the U.S. What exactly was my position at the helicopter company? Just like customer service rep, associate? I don't even know. But the funny part was, I worked there for almost 5 years, about 4.5 years. Maybe the first 2 years I did customer service. After that, they had me doing everything else possible that wasn't customer service. Like I said, they trained me in continuous improvement, or ACE, Achieving Competitive Excellence. And I got a certification. I went to like tons of classes. I think it was about hundreds of hours of training to get that certification. I've shown it on stream. And they had me redesigning processes in the company for them, holding high-level meetings of people in from all over the building, trying to fix processes and make them more efficient. And I did all this, and then they laid me off. They never paid me for it. They promised me the world. They promised me, if you do all this, don't worry that you're a customer service rep. We promise you this will lead to good things. You'll get promotions. You'll be able to do this later, long term. We just need to get the work done now, and then your reward's coming later for going above and beyond. When I finished this big project at my job, they gave me an award. It actually said, you know, congratulations for going above and beyond the Call of Duty. You didn't need to do this. This wasn't really your job, and you worked your ass off here. And then they laid me off 2 months later after I got that commendation. Scumbags. Yes, they spent all that time and money to train me, and then they got rid of me. Absolutely. They're that moronic. That's what I mean. Like, why do you think the company ran itself into the ground? It was run by a bunch of idiots. They didn't know what the fuck they were doing. The only time that company was doing well was when the industry was doing well. As soon as the industry started to get challenged because of the economy turning, they fell apart. It was one of those situations where it's like, when everything's good, you know, they can operate, but they have zero like big picture thinking of what would ever happen if things start to go wrong. How do we prepare? What do we do? They had no clue what the fuck they were doing. So the whole thing fell apart. It's hilarious. Just think about that. I showed you guys the certification on stream. That was, I think that certification was, I think it's a minimum of 40 hours of training. And then you have to participate in like 2 to 3 projects and run a project to get that certification. So that, if you add all the hours together, that was like 100 man hours to qualify for that certification. And then they fucking laid me off afterward. They're that stupid. Is that company still in business? I don't know. Want to find out? I know for a fact that everyone who worked in the building I worked at had to leave because they basically outsourced. They shipped all the work that I was doing and stuff to outside the country. Wow. They exist? And they are completely different from who they were back then, apparently. Let's see. Oh my god, there's a million of them that have the same name. I'm trying to find something updated about the one that I worked at. Let's see. Wow, I can't even find anything that's like up to date. I can't even find a website for them. What is this? Let's see. I'm serious. I can't even find a website for them or anything. I'm looking. All I can find is third-party websites listing them with like minimal information. Like I said, from what I was to understand, all the customer service work and stuff they were doing was completely outsourced. So they don't do that anymore. If anything, if they're still there, what they're doing is that's where they have the helicopter parts and they still ship them from there. But there's nothing, and there used to be a big website for them and everything. There's nothing. All I can find is like yellow pages. You know, I can't even find them. I would love to see if they're still operating, how they're. I can't find any information. Opencorporates.com. See, there's no website for them. I have no idea. Yeah. Well, I wish I could have more information. I can't find anything definitive here. The last news article I see about them was from 2012. 10 years ago. So there you go.